Imagine lying in bed at night and hearing someone walking inside your walls. Not rats, not pipes, footsteps. That's exactly what happened to a man named Daniel in a quiet apartment building. At first, he thought he was imagining it, but then the noises started answering him. And what he eventually discovered inside the walls of his home made him move out that same night. Daniel had just moved into a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood. It wasn't anything special, just an old building built sometime in the 1970s. Thin walls, creaky floors, the kind of place where you can sometimes hear your neighbors talking. But Daniel lives on the top floor, no one above him, no attic, just a ceiling and silence. At least, that's what he thought. Because on his third night living there, something strange happened. Right after turning off the lights, he heard a faint scratch, 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 coming from the wall beside his bed. At first, he assumed it was a mouse. Old buildings always have pests. But then, the scratching stopped and something replaced it. Footsteps. Slow, careful footsteps. Not running, not random. Almost like someone was trying not to be heard. And the strange part, the sound was coming from inside the wall. Daniel sat up in bed and listened carefully. The footsteps moved from one side of the room to the other. Then they stopped, completely silent. He told himself it had to be the pipes expanding, or maybe an animal moved through the building structure. But then he heard something that made his stomach drop. A soft cough. Not an animal, a human cough inside the wall. Daniel turned the lights back on. The room was empty. The wall looked normal. No holes, no cracks. But the silence now felt different, like someone was waiting. He walked over and placed his ear against the wall. Nothing, just quiet. So he laughed it off, turned off the light again, and went back to bed. But 5 minutes later, footsteps returned, this time directly behind his head. The next morning, Daniel asked his neighbors if they had heard strange noises. They all said the same thing, no. But one older neighbor gave him a strange look and said, "Those walls are hollow. You'll be surprised what can move through them." That answer didn't help. So that night, Daniel decided to record the sound. He placed his phone against the wall before going to sleep, and around 2:17 a.m., the noises started again. At first, the recording captured the same thing he heard before: scratching, footsteps. But then, something else appeared in the audio, a whisper, so quiet he almost missed it. But when he replayed the recording with headphones, he heard 3 clear words: "He can hear us." Daniel didn't sleep at all that night, because if someone was inside the walls, it meant one terrifying thing. They weren't just passing through, they had been listening to him too. The next day, Daniel called building maintenance. They checked the walls with tools and small cameras, and eventually they discovered something shocking. Hidden behind one section of dry wall was a narrow maintenance crawl space, a space that ran through several apartments. But that wasn't the disturbing part. Inside the crawl space, they found food wrappers, blankets, empty water bottles. Someone had clearly been living there, watching people through small openings in the walls. The building owners sealed the crawl spaces shortly after. Police were never able to confirm who had been living there. No footprints, no identity, just traces that someone had been there for weeks, maybe longer. Daniel moved out immediately, but sometimes he still thinks about something that happened the night before he left. While packing his things, he heard one last sound from the wall, a slow, quiet knock, almost like someone was saying goodbye.